But so how would you counsel somebody? Say one of the members of your church or even your son. Hey, met this girl. I really like her. I can see a future with her, but she has a kid.
Yeah, I've actually had a lot of those conversations, to be honest with you. Um, my initial reaction is, you know, number one, how do you see your relationship building you up um, in your walk with the Lord? Are you guys really, uh, benefiting in your walk with the Lord when you come together? Is it something that you feel like you're better together for the Lord than you would be apart? Number one, and so number two, I would say, what is that relationship like with, with that co-parent? Are they co-parenting well? Is there struggles there? Is that something that you're willing to be a part of? And then number three, are you willing to treat that child with the love and respect and dignity that is necessary, knowing that this is not your child? Because some people say, "Well, I'm gonna treat the child like it's my own." Well, the child is not your own, and so I understand the sentiment, what you're saying, but I would say more accurately, are you going to give them the respect and the care that they deserve? As you being there as a parental figure, because the child is not your own, but they still deserve love and respect and care, and an environment that's safe, and trustworthy. So those are the three things that I put out there, and I let that person kind of wrestle with that, and that's just saying one child. What if there's multiple? What if there's two, three, four? You know, Same thing. What does that look like for you? When y'all come together, is it something that you're better together for the Lord? Because that person also may have their own traumas, their own issues around relationships because they maybe feel like they've been burned quite a few times. And now, even though you're attracted to them, you desire to be with them, they need healing. They need, time. And are you willing to wait for them to be ready for that? There's a lot of factors, but those are things that come to mind right away from the conversations that I've sat down with. And there's more to it. There's
So
more to it.
I'm sure in your congregation you have some single mothers.
Hmm. Hmm.
What does that look like for them? Like, I mean, because we always talk about we serve a God of restoration and He forgives and we're new in Christ and all those kind of things. And but the world give you this stigma like you're damaged
Yeah.
goods, if you will, right? And
Yeah.
again, I I'm a mama's boy. I love my mama to death, man. For the longest time, it was me, my mom, and my sister, right? And so I see dudes will come and dudes will go, and dudes will treat us some type of way. And from that perspective, I have a compassion and a heart for single mothers, um, and I know we would caution a man before jumping into that situation.
Right.
And
Right.
right now we're assuming that it's the woman who's coming with the kids. It could be the man
Right. We're
coming with the kids,
assuming.
right?
We're making an
We're
assumption.
making an assumption, right? That it could be, because that's a whole other can of worms. But from the single mothers who are looking to eventually get married one day, and they're serving Christ, and they're being discipled, and they're in the church, and they're doing their thing. What do you have? Do you ever have conversation with them? Do you ever build them up? What does that look like?
Yeah. Number one for them, again, their relationship with God, of course, but that they're co-parenting well, that their relationship, as it relates to, that other parent or parents, is in a way that if a person's invited into this, that they're not going to be, beat up and run off because you're kind of messy with that. It's
And
your
you done
ex,
touched
but
on
you're
something
still.
with that one.
You know what I'm saying? It's your, and this is male or female. Let's make that clear. Is male or female? Hey, y'all still having conversations with each other. Y'all still kind of, even though you're supposed to not be together, y'all, and he has a little bit too much access to you, and it's not
Yeah,
about the kids, and
yeah.
she
But,
has a
but
little bit more access. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
even
And so
worse though, look at the other side though, to some of the mothers who use their kid against the dad. Well, I don't want them
yeah,
to see him, or I only want the child support, or whatever the case may be, because a man coming into that's drama too.
that's drama too. Yeah, it can be a messy situation. So I counsel them that, hey, are you co-parenting well? Is this a situation where somebody's invited into it, you know, they're not going to be unnecessarily, because you know, there's already a factor there, but is that factor unnecessarily,
Undue stress,
difficult,
unnecessary stress.
undue
Yeah.
stress? You know what I'm saying? And then number three, are you working on your healing spiritually? Because if you have, had a previous relationship that resulted in a child, or multiple relationships that resulted in a child, there's probably some hurt there. There's probably some pain. There's probably some rejection issues. There's probably some insecurities. There's probably some things that you need to deal with, that when this person comes in, you don't want to hit them with all that. You don't want to abuse them because you don't feel, deserving. You don't feel like anybody really wants you, even though you want to be wanted. You still at the same time don't feel like anybody should want you, but you want to be wanted. And so there's a battle there, especially, when I've counseled, women on that side of it. The men, it is a little bit different for the single man. I think when women come into the picture, they're actually a little bit more, I don't know, they're willing to work a little bit better, whereas the men kind of struggle in those situations because there's another man out there. And so that's some of the things, but I encourage them, that, hey, if you're thinking about this, these are some of the factors that you want to be praying about, and that you want to be working through, and that you want to have a handle on, because it's going to affect this current relationship if these other relationships have a lot of unresolved issues that are boiling over into your home right now with nobody there.
Yeah.
Somebody comes in and they want to marry you, they're going to want to be your protector. They're going to want, are you bringing them into something where it's going to be, the wild, wild west?
Yeah, no, you bring up something too where you're like, sometimes the women are kind of more willing to deal with it. So here's where my experience can kind of come into play, because I've had kids, before my wife now too. And I've dated other women before my wife now too. And so one of my biggest things is this: if you can't accept my kids, then we can't be together. Because at the end of the day, these are gonna always be my kids. So that's my first indicator on if me and you can even be married, knowing that I have kids. Also too, as I get to know a woman, if she have kids, if I like you said, if the situation with the baby daddy is a certain kind of way, or the kid is disrespectful, this is me being a football coach. My biggest pet peeve with being a football coach is parents who let their kids disrespect the coach. Like if you let like if your kid's being disrespectful and you allowing it and sometimes even condoning it, like that's a situation I'll stop coaching your kid. I'll give you a refund to get them off the team and put them on another team, because I'm not gonna deal with the kid disrespecting me and the parent actually condoning it or not allowing it. So that's another piece to it. But then the other thing that I would advise people on is that, and this is where you really gotta look at what's your walk like with Christ, because once you and that person get married, y'all become one. There are a
Mm,
lot of people who put their children, even biological children, over
yeah,
their spouse, right? And
yeah.
that I think that was probably one of the hardest things to deal with. Is like, okay, well, if I do this, is she gonna think I'm doing this because this is not my son? When in reality, I would do this same thing to my son.